Welcome back, dreadful family. Tonight in The Rain Hides More Than Thunder. 3 true stories from those who survived. Barely. Turn off the lights and listen close. I was 11 when this happened, old enough to be home alone, too young to understand what fear really meant. It was a cold, wet night in December. Rain hammered the windows like endless fingers. The air smelled like wet wood and dust. My parents were going out to dinner that night. Just a couple hours, they said. They'd be back before 10. They trusted me. I was the quiet kid, no parties, no trouble. Just me, my blanket, and the TV. Before leaving, my mom said the usual things. Lock the doors. Don't answer the door for anyone. Keep the porch light on. I nodded. I'd heard it all before. When they left, the house instantly felt too big. Every sound felt louder. Every shadow looked darker. I turned on the TV to drown out the silence. Cartoons, comfort noise. It helped for a while. Then came the sound. A faint creak. It came from the kitchen, right next to the basement door. I muted the TV. Listened. Nothing. Then another creak. This one slower. Longer. Like weight shifting on wood. The sound of a single step. My stomach tightened. The house was old. I told myself it was just the pipes, maybe the furnace. But the furnace doesn't make footsteps. I walked toward the kitchen. The light above the sink flickered once, then steadied. The basement door stood there, shut, like always. That door had always creeped me out. It was thin wood painted white with a black iron keyhole in the center. Even when closed, you could feel a faint cold draft slip through the edges. I pressed my ear to it. At first, nothing. Just the low hum of the furnace below. Then a whisper. It was soft, like breath. Too slow to be wind, too deliberate. My heart started racing. I wanted to back away. But something, a curiosity, fear, I don't know, made me crouch down and look through the keyhole. At first, I saw only darkness. Then as my eyes adjusted, faint movement, something pale, like a shoulder. Or an arm. It shifted slightly. Then stopped. I shot back so fast I almost fell. A soda can slipped from my hand and rolled across the floor. Silence. I stood frozen for almost a full minute, eyes locked on that door. The whispering stopped. The furnace kept humming, steady, calm, like nothing had happened. Finally, I forced myself to walk away. I told myself I imagined it. I wanted to believe that. Upstairs, I locked myself in my room and sat on my bed. The bat I used for Little League rested beside me, just in case. Minutes passed. Maybe an hour. I started to relax, then I heard it again. Creak, creak, creak. It was unmistakable. Footsteps climbing the basement stairs. I froze, holding my breath. The steps stopped just under the kitchen light. Then came the sound of a lock turning. Click. My heart dropped. The basement door was unlocking. I slowly crept out of my room and looked down the stairwell. The kitchen light flickered again. The basement door, the one I know I locked, was open, just a few inches. Enough to see blackness behind it. "Mom?" I whispered. No answer. A droplet of water fell from the ceiling. Then another. And another rain, but it sounded closer. Then, movement. A hand appeared from behind the door. It was pale. So pale it looked almost gray. The fingers were long, too long, with dirt under every nail. It gripped the edge of the door and pulled it wider, and then I saw it. A head, tilted, covered by a white mask. No mouth. No features. Just 2 dark holes where eyes should have been. The figure stood perfectly still. Then it tilted its head slowly like it was studying me. I ran, straight to my room. Slammed the door and locked it. Wedged the bat under the knob. My breathing was loud. Too loud. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears, then silence, no footsteps. No creaks, just the soft tapping of rain outside. Then I heard it, whispering, right behind the door. It said my name, clear as day. My name. I didn't move. Didn't breathe, then came scratching. Light at first. Then harder. Then faster. Something was clawing at my door. I backed up until I hit the wall. Then it stopped. Completely. For a few seconds I thought it was over. Then something slid under the door. A piece of paper. I stared at it, too scared to touch it. But curiosity won. I reached out and pulled it closer. It was a photograph. A photo of me. Sitting on the couch from earlier that night. Taken from behind, my hands went cold. My breathing stopped. The photo slipped from my fingers. I didn't move again until I heard the front door downstairs creak open. Then silence, followed by the sound of heavy rain. I didn't sleep that night. When my parents got home, I was still sitting there clutching the bat. They didn't believe me, of course. My dad checked the basement. Nothing there, but the lock on the basement door was snapped clean off. For the next few weeks, I refused to be alone in that house. Every night I heard noises, quiet footsteps, faint whispers through the vents. Always from below. We moved out a month later. But even years after, I had nightmares. Then, about 2 years ago, my mom got a call from the new owners. They asked if we ever had issues with the basement. She told them yes, but didn't say much more. The woman on the phone said they kept finding the basement light on in the middle of the night. Sometimes muddy footprints led up the stairs, and once they found a stack of old photographs in the basement corner. All of them were pictures of the living room, taken from behind the couch. Last summer, I drove past that neighborhood again. The house was still there, but it looked abandoned. The windows were boarded up. The paint was peeling off the walls. I parked across the street for a few seconds. The sky was gray. Rain started to fall again, unsteady, cold. Then I saw something. In the second-floor window, my old bedroom, someone was standing there. A tall figure, completely still, wearing a white mask. I blinked, thinking maybe it was reflection, but it didn't move, didn't fade, just stood there watching. That was enough. I drove off and didn't look back, but sometimes when it rains, I still hear that sound in my head, that soft creak, that slow step, coming from somewhere below me, and every time I check my doors. Because I'll never forget the night I learned, you can lock every door in the house, but some things don't need keys to get in. It was one of those nights where the rain doesn't fall, it attacks. Thick sheets slamming the windshield, wipers screeching back and forth, barely keeping up. The highway was empty, midnight, just the hum of the tires and the storm trying to drown out the world. I was coming back from a work trip. 3 hours of road ahead, and nothing but the storm to keep me company. The kind of night where your headlights feel useless, like the darkness is thicker than it should be. I had the radio on low. Some late-night host mumbling about ghost sightings in the Midwest. I wasn't paying attention. I just wanted to get home. That's when I saw her. A lone figure on the side of the highway, drenched, head down, thumb out. I almost didn't register her at first, just a shape in the downpour. But as I passed, my brain caught up with my eyes. That was a person. I slowed down. My wipers squealed. For a second, I hesitated. Who the hell hitchhikes in weather like this? Something in me said, don't stop. But guilt, that quiet, stupid voice that says, what if she really needs help? It won. So I pulled over. The red glow of my taillights painted the rain behind me like blood. She ran toward the car, her outline flickering in the storm. I unlocked the passenger door. She got in. And for a moment, I couldn't speak. She looked off. Her hair was plastered to her face. Her clothes looked old, like something out of a different decade. She didn't have a bag. No phone, just this. Blank expression. Thanks, she said quietly, barely audible over the rain. Her voice was flat, empty. I nodded. Where are you headed? She paused for a long time before answering. Home. Something about the way she said it made me uneasy. No specific direction, no town name. Just home. Still, I started driving. The silence in that car was unbearable. The rain pounding against the roof. The faint smell of wet earth and something metallic. I tried to make small talk. Rough night to be walking. No response. I glanced over. Her face was turned toward the window. But the glass was fogged and she wasn't wiping it away. She was just staring at the fog. A few minutes passed. Then she spoke. You shouldn't have stopped. I froze. Sorry? I said, half laughing, like maybe she was joking. She turned her head slowly toward me. Her eyes were dark. Not just brown, dark. You shouldn't have stopped, she repeated. He doesn't like it when people stop. My skin crawled. I glanced at the rearview mirror instinctively. Nothing there. Just the empty, rain-soaked road behind us. I tried to stay calm. Who doesn't like it? She didn't answer. Just faced the window again. I drove in silence, heart pounding, watching the road curve through sheets of rain. The air in the car felt colder now, and then I noticed something in the side mirror. A flicker of movement behind us. For a second I thought I saw headlights, but then they vanished. No sound. No car. Just black highway again. I shook my head. Probably just the storm playing tricks. But my gut told me something was wrong. The girl suddenly whispered, "He's here." My hands tightened on the wheel. "What do you mean?" I asked, voice shaking. Her head turned slightly, but she wasn't looking at me. She was staring at the space between the two front seats, and before I could even react, a cold drop of water hit the back of my neck. The roof wasn't leaking. I turned my head slowly toward the back seat. It was empty. Or at least, it looked empty until I noticed the shape. A faint silhouette in the darkness, like someone crouched behind the passenger seat trying not to breathe. My foot slammed the brake. The car skidded, fishtailing across the wet road. The girl didn't even flinch. I reached for the door handle, but before I could open it, I heard breathing, low, wet, too close. Then, two pale hands gripped the headrest beside me. I screamed and threw open the door, stumbling out into the rain. My shoes hit the soaked asphalt as I ran around to the other side. The headlights cut through the storm, illuminating the inside of the car. Empty. The girl was gone. The back seat was empty too. I stood there in the middle of the road, rain pouring down, staring at my car. No movement. No sound but the storm. I finally forced myself to look around. No other vehicles. Just endless highway and black forest stretching on both sides. I got back in, locked the doors, and kept driving. Every nerve in my body was screaming. I drove for nearly 30 miles before I saw a gas station. I pulled in, shaking, dripping wet, and told the cashier what happened. He stared at me for a long time. Then he sighed. "You picked her up, didn't you?" I frowned. "What do you mean?" He pointed toward the highway. "That road's cursed, man. Every couple of months, someone sees a woman hitchhiking during storms. You're not the first." He told me about a woman who died there decades ago. Car crash. Rainy night. Driver never found. Locals say she appears whenever it rains hard enough, trying to find her way home. "And if you stop?" "She's never alone. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face. But the worst part wasn't that. It was what I found the next morning. When I opened my car door, the passenger seat was soaked. But not from rain. There were muddy footprints on the floor mat. Bare feet leading from the passenger seat to the back. And on the window, written in smeared condensation, were 3 words. "You stopped again." To this day, I don't drive at night when it rains. And if I see someone on the side of the road, no matter how desperate they look, I keep driving. Because sometimes mercy is the reason people disappear. It was one of those nights where the rain sounded endless. Not soft, not gentle, heavy, relentless. Like it wanted to bury the world under its noise. I live alone. Small one-story house, quiet neighborhood. Usually I like the sound of rain. It helps me sleep. But that night something about it felt off. Like it was hiding something. The power had flickered twice already. The storm warnings were all over the radio. High winds, possible flooding. I remember checking the back door before bed, making sure it was locked. Then the windows. Then the front. I don't know why I was so careful. Maybe I just had a feeling. I made tea, turned off the lights, and went to my room. The rain beat against the windows like it was angry. The sound filled every corner of the house. It was almost peaceful. Almost. I must have fallen asleep around 1 a.m. When I woke up, it wasn't because of thunder. It was something else. A sound. Soft. Metallic. Like a latch being tested, I froze. I told myself it was just the wind. The rain, anything but what it sounded like. But then I heard it again. Click. From the back door, I reached for my phone. The screen lit up 1:37 a.m., no messages, no missed calls, just the faint reflection of my face in the dark. I slid out of bed as quietly as I could. My heart was already racing. The rain made it hard to hear, but there it was. Slow, deliberate movement. Someone was outside. I crept down the hallway barefoot. The air felt colder than before. Every step creaked louder than it should have. When I reached the kitchen, I stood there staring at the back door. The porch light flickered from the storm, throwing flashes across the glass, and that's when I saw it. A shadow, long human, standing just beyond the window. For a second, I thought maybe it was my reflection. But then it moved, slowly, deliberately, closer to the glass. I ducked down behind the counter, barely breathing. Every instinct screamed at me to call someone, but my phone was still in the bedroom. The shadow lingered. Then the doorknob turned, once, twice, softly, like whoever was out there didn't want to be heard. But I heard it. I stayed crouched, gripping a kitchen knife from the drawer, trying not to make a sound. After what felt like forever, the doorknob stopped moving. I listened. Nothing but rain, then a tap, not on the door. On the kitchen window, 3 slow knocks, right next to where I was hiding. I bit down on my sleeve to stop from gasping. The tapping stopped. Silence. Then footsteps, wet, squelching, moving along the side of the house. Heading toward the front, I scrambled to my feet and crept back down the hall, avoiding the windows. The only light came from the lightning flashes outside. When I reached the front door, I froze again. Because through the glass panel beside it, I could see someone standing on the porch. He wasn't knocking. He wasn't saying anything, just standing there, tall, hooded, completely still, facing the door. Rain dripping from his jacket. A flash of lightning lit up his face. He was smiling, not a grin. Not crazy, just a calm, patient smile, like he already knew I was watching. I stepped back slowly, heart hammering. He raised his hand and knocked 3 times. Same slow rhythm as before, knock, knock, knock. Then his voice, calm, polite, muffled by the storm. "Can you let me in?" My car broke down. Every word felt wrong. Too steady. Too rehearsed. I didn't answer. Didn't move. He spoke again, louder. "Please. I just need to use your phone. Lightning again." He hadn't moved. His smile hadn't changed. Something about it. His voice didn't match his face. Like he was saying lines he'd practiced. I backed away, step by step, until I was in the living room. My phone was still on the nightstand. I had to get to it. I moved fast but careful, keeping low. Every thunderclap covered my footsteps. When I reached the bedroom, I shut the door and locked it. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. I dialed 911. The call connected, but before I could speak, I heard it, from inside the house. A floorboard creaked, not in the hallway. Closer. Right outside my door, I froze. The operator's voice came through, distant. 911, what's your emergency? I couldn't answer. The doorknob turned slowly, once, twice, then stopped. I finally whispered, "Someone's in my house." The operator asked for my address. I gave it as quietly as I could. They said help was on the way. Then, a knock on the bedroom door. 3 times. Soft, precise knock, 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 the same rhythm, the same patience. "Please," the man said through the door. "I just need your phone." My throat went dry. He knew. He'd heard me call. I didn't speak, didn't move. Then he whispered, almost gently, "You shouldn't have locked the back door." My heart stopped. Lightning flashed again through the curtains. In that split second, I saw something that froze my blood. A wet footprint. Inside the room. He was already in. I dropped the phone, grabbed the lamp from the nightstand, and swung toward the sound. But the room was empty. Rain hammered the roof. Thunder rolled. I ran to the closet and hid, barely daring to breathe. The seconds crawled by. The rain made it impossible to tell what was real anymore. Then, through the slats, I saw movement. A shadow moved past the door. Slow, careful, listening. I pressed my hand over my mouth. He stopped, right in front of the closet. The handle turned halfway, then let go. I heard him walk away, out of the room, down the hall, then silence. For a long time, I didn't move. When I finally stepped out, my legs were trembling. I checked the hallway. Empty. The front door was wide open. Rain pouring in, soaking the floor. No one there. Police arrived 15 minutes later. They searched the house, the yard, even the woods behind. Nothing. But when one of the officers came back from outside, he looked unsettled. He told me they'd found something by the back door, a muddy footprint. Bare. And beside it, an old key. It matched the kind of locks this house had before I moved in. The officer said it looked like someone had made a copy. That was 2 years ago. Since then, I changed every lock, added cameras, moved bedrooms. But on rainy nights, especially when the wind hits just right, I still hear it. That slow, patient rhythm on the walls. Knock, 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 like he's still waiting for me to open the door. And that's the end of tonight's stories. If the rain's still falling where you are, don't listen too closely. Sometimes it hides more than thunder. Thank you, my family, for staying till the end. If you've got a true story of your own, something that happened on a night like this, and send it in. Sleep well, if you can. Until next time. This is Dreadful Screams.